आई थिंक इट्स सेफ टू से कि लव स्टोरिया ने सिर्फ केसरिया गाना ही खराब नहीं किया, उसने ये फिल्म भी काफी हद तक खराब कर दी है.
I think some of the scenes, the VFX was on par with some really good Hollywood movies.
तू हाथी नहीं, तू गेंडा है गेंडा.
So this was the cringe fest. That was the dialogues of the film.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Explorer. I am Muskan.
And I'm Moksh.
And today we are going to talk about one of the most anticipated films of the year, Brahmastra.
I think it was definitely one of the most anticipated films for all of India, I believe, for us, for a lot of people who thought this film could be the saving grace for Bollywood.
चाहे वो बॉयकॉट बॉलीवुड की वजह से हो या फिर अनगिनत रीमेक्स की वजह से
या फिर maybe biopics या फिर just the fact that somehow movies are not so engaging enough right now. और filmmakers are also not able to market it in a way कि audience देखने आए movies. They're boycotting it is just one factor, but let's see कि exactly ब्रह्मास्त्र के साथ हुआ क्या हो सकता है.
And was it really this savior everyone expected it to be? One of the major reasons why this film was supposed to be the savior of Bollywood was first of all ऐसे VFX इंडिया में अभी तक नहीं बने. They were trying to attempt to make an Astraverse like multiverse in Marvel films and the entire cinematic universe. Secondly, the star cast, the amazing star cast it had. कौन नहीं था इसमें? शाहरुख से लेके अब तो शायद दीपिका से लेके रणवीर सिंह तक probably. But yeah, mainly it starred Ranbir Kapoor, Alia Bhatt, Amitabh Bachchan, a cameo of Nagarjuna and both Shah Rukh Khan.
And Moni Roy, don't forget her.
Yeah, Moni Roy, who was supposed to be like Nagin, but she was nothing like Nagin. That was one saving grace, and we'll talk about it later.
Also the fact that it was an Ayan Mukherjee film and he had only made 2 films before this, Wake Up Sid and Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, and people loved both of them. And since this movie took 10 years, so they were like कि इतना time किस चीज में लग रहा है, क्या बना रहे हो आप? And they were really intrigued to see what he was going to put on screen. So what exactly is this film about? It's basically a love story disguised as a mythological adventure film, and I don't know if they should have put so much of love in this film.
I think it's safe to say कि लव स्टोरिया ने सिर्फ केसरिया गाना ही खराब नहीं किया, उसने ये फिल्म भी काफी हद तक खराब कर दी है.
तो इस मूवी की स्टार्ट कुछ उसी तरीके से हुई थी जैसे हमने एंटिसिपेट की थी कि अमिताभ बच्चन की क्या बेहतरीन आवाज है. उसके अंदर आपको बहुत ही बढ़िया से कार्टून्स दिखेंगे, एनिमेटेड कार्टून्स जो आपको पूरी स्टोरी बताएंगे कि ब्रह्मांड है क्या. एक सीक्रेट सोसाइटी जो कि ब्रह्मास्त्र की रक्षा कर रही है बहुत टाइम से. एंड उसके बाद हमारी स्टोरी मेन जो है वो शिफ्ट होती है शिवा के ऊपर.
The story revolves around Shiva, who is having some strange dreams about Brahmāstra and the members of Brahmāstra who he has no knowledge of yet. And these dreams get stronger and stronger as he meets Isha in one of the most clumsiest meet cute in the history of Bollywood. What do you think about that?
I think it would have worked if it was a rom-com, but it was not a rom-com. It was an adventure film, a mythological film. So I didn't know why it was there. Probably when he was writing the film, he was still in that Ye Jawani Hai Diwani ka hangover, and he thought that something like that could work.
I don't know why, but the chemistry between Ranbir and Alia did not look that good on screen. I expected a lot because, of course, they are newly married and they are having a baby. But it was a disaster for me.
But the movie was shot quite a long time back.
Yeah.
And I still felt that they were a good pairing. Something fresh, I think. We haven't seen Alia and Ranbir before. But since this movie was so long in making, we have been hearing about them on and on and on and on. But still, yeah, I think it was still fine.
सबसे पहली चीज जो चाहते ही मूड खराब करने वाली है is the cringiest dialogues coming out of mouth of Shah Rukh Khan, which does not look good. They are naming everything Mr. India, Genda, जुनून तो खैर उसका नाम ही था, जोर. Why do you have to give nicknames to every single thing and every single person in every single conversation?
I think also the way in which they were delivered. Like, it felt a little archaic in the way they were trying to deliver these punchlines because they were not landing at all. There was, I think, zero laughter from my side at least. Even when I think Shah Rukh Khan was supposed to be joking in some scenes. But still, like, keeping those things a little aside, the cringe dialogues were a mainstay throughout the film. पूरी मूवी में बार बार कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा वो बोलेंगे ही बोलेंगे जिसको सुन के आपको लगेगा कि ये बोल क्या रहा है,
क्यों बोल रहा है. At one point of the film, Ranbir Kapoor asks a random man कि इस लैपटॉप में वाईफाई है क्या. What he replies next will boggle you. He says, पूरे पंडाल में वाईफाई है, तुम भगवान को ही व्हाट्सएप कर सकते हो.
But no. This was not the end. यहाँ पर कहानी खत्म नहीं होती. वो फॉलो अप भी करता है. वो बोलता है अरे
मैं तो मजाक कर रहा था, सच्ची में कर रहे हो क्या? So this was the cringe fest. That were the dialogues of the film.
But these dialogues do not come alone. They are accompanied by an even weaker story, which had so much potential and it was all just wasted.
I think story बहुत ही ज़्यादा one tone थी, है ना? It was just like exposition. They were just setting up things again and again and again. There was no breathing space in between. And also the fact that they used some of the most basic and cliched tropes in some parts. And I was like, he had so much time and he is such a talented director. He could have tried to come up with something much more unique, much more better, because this story does not feel like it has been 10 years in the making in terms of rewrites. The story could have been rewritten to be more nuanced, to have more depth than it actually had at the very end.
These types of jokes, these types of humor, these types of dialogues may have worked in the 2000s and 90s, but they are not going to work anymore.
I think the audience is not receptive to these things anymore. Like we have seen recently also कि हंगामा का sequel बना हंगामा 2 and बहुत ही similar jokes थे, बिल्कुल work नहीं करे. Then और भी comedy movies आ रही हैं जो इसी तरीके के jokes and tropes को use कर रही हैं and they're not working because the audience knows that jokes can be made separately and they should not be at the expense of somebody else. And also the fact that हमेशा ही इस तरीके की lines और चीज़ों को डालते रहना is not really a good thing.
From the very beginning, the film just feels so random. Random things are happening and there are random characters introduced and they just vanish from one point altogether. We never see or even hear of them. There are two friends जो शिवा के साथ हमेशा रहते हैं. And when Isha is introduced, she has a sister and a brother-in-law. And at that time, it feels like they might be important, but they're not
Only
shown
for
again.
10 minutes, just for some parkour. And I was really disappointed कि जब वो ऐसे छतों पे कूद रहे थे, इधर उधर कूदी फादी मार रहे थे, so किसी ने भी parkour नहीं बोला, because that would have been a really good callback to The Office.
Parkour!
Okay, so flaws तो हमने बहुत सारे निकाल लिए because the film actually had flaws and they needed to be pointed out. But film में काफी कुछ अच्छा भी है. And one of the major things is the VFX.
The budget of this film exceeded 400 crores and 60 crore of this film alone was spent on VFX. And I think it's safe to say that this was the money well spent.
It definitely is because I think some of the scenes, the VFX was on par with some really good Hollywood movies, and that is, I think, the highest praise that they could get for doing what they did. And also VFX की वजह से ये मूवी बहुत टाइम से रिलीज नहीं हुई थी, so they had to be good, and boy did they blow me away.
Some of the scenes literally sent shivers down my spine, especially the Nandi Astraverse scene. It was really amazing and so grand. That was one thing that made the experience bearable and worth enjoyable in parts.
I think especially if you watch it in theaters.
Yeah. I don't
Because-
think this film will have any meaning if you are watching it at your home in laptops. It won't work.
Definitely, and please don't watch it on your mobile screens. You will not have a good time.
I think the one vision that Ayan Mukherjee had with this film was to make it a grand spectacle, and if that was the case, I think he has succeeded in that. I think all the visuals of the film are also pretty decent in parts, not overall. There are many scenes like the Dashera scene in the beginning, the dance sequences, the action sequences, the visuals and the production design is really, really good. I don't know if that was production design or entirely it was VFX, but that they did a pretty good job in that.
I think that would come under production design, and it was gorgeous to look at, especially the Dashera scene.
And I don't know why this film was released now. It could have easily been a Diwali or Dashera film because there are pandals and
Durga
Ravan
Puja.
Dahan, Durga Puja. There's so many things which would have been so much more apt to be released during Diwali and that festive season.
Also, the music of the film, and it has really gotten a lot of praises before the movie was even released. केसरिया तो पता नहीं कब से ही रील्स पर चल रहा है. Then Dance Ka Bhoot was recently released and people were appreciating it.
Deva Deva was also really good.
Yes. And but my favorite part in terms of music was the BGM, which was constantly playing. I loved it, and I hope that they carry it on in the upcoming parts as well.
I think music was the one thing, apart from VFX and action sequences, which was making it an immersive experience. Now coming to the acting performances, I don't think that this was a film that gave any of the actors any space, any area to work on their acting because it was just not what the film really required.
Yeah, it doesn't have any acting scope even for the great Amitabh Bachchan, because you know कि Amitabh Bachchan क्या करने वाले हैं. He's a guru, he uses his baritone, he gives really great voiceovers, but nothing apart from that.
Alia Bhatt is having a little streak with Gangubai Kathiawadi, RRR, Darlings, and this was one film. I get that it was made way back and it was shot way back, but it didn't give her the kind of role, the kind of dialogues and the kind of acting she deserved.
I think she was really underutilized, and she was just a damsel in distress who was shouting Shiva, Shiva, Shiva whenever she was in trouble. And I hope that she doesn't say yes to these kind of roles.
I don't think she will. It was like a role in the past.
Yeah.
It was made at 5. I think the film was shot in 17 to 18.
Okay.
It started being shot at that time. So I don't think she will agree to these roles anymore.
Coming to the main protagonist, the titular character of Shiva, played by Ranbir Kapoor, I think it was very hit and miss. Very, very hit and miss, because we hadn't seen Ranbir on screen for a long time. His film Shamshera came some time back, but it was also, it had a lot of mixed reviews. But here as well, I felt like he was good in the action scenes and really, really poor in the emotional scenes, and while delivering some of his punchlines because they didn't land. So yeah, I think it wasn't a great performance from Ranbir either.
One actress who was so much criticized right from when the trailer was released was Moni Roy. And I think she did justice to the role she was in.
Yes, she definitely did, because she had to be menacing. She had to bring that kind of an aura that whenever you see her, you know that something bad is gonna happen. And sometimes she was just lurking in the shadows behind the main characters, and that creeped me out in parts.
I think उसको नागिन से compare करना हर film में, even without watching the film, was a little unfair. And now उसने prove किया है कि she is a good actress, even though her voice felt a little too edited to me. Did you feel that? It was not her natural voice.
In some scenes, yeah. Because they were trying to give it a little bit more of like depth and like बहुत ज़्यादा भारी feel करवानी आवाज़, because she is the villainous character. But yeah, the demeanor and the way she was portraying the character of Junoon, I think
she was a match to all these great actors.
She was better, I believe, than these actors, because they had the main role, but she stole the show for me.
Now coming to what lies next for this entire Astraverse trilogy, the biggest hint or a spoiler that Brahmastra gave was by showing a glimpse of Deepika and what seemed to be a glimpse of Ranveer's body in the form of Dev, and the second part is going to be revolving around Dev, which might be a sequel, it might be a prequel.
I think it will be a prequel, because usually the second films in a trilogy are prequels, and I just wanted to tell you that, it looked like Ranveer's body, but it could also be Hrithik, because they approached him as well. We have to see who will be in the film in the second part. I think
it will be a lot more interesting if it is like Ranbir Alia and Ranbir Deepika, and people will want to see it all over again, even if this film was not what they were expecting, but still it will have the craze.
So overall, it was an experience which had me excited and disappointed at the very same time, because I was really excited and really happy to see the kind of VFX, the kind of vision that Ayan Mukherjee had, and also the fact that he was able to bring so many big stars into one movie, and this somehow gelled together in a way. But I was also disappointed because the story was very one-tone, very archaic, and I hope that he improves on it in the second part.
I think only if Ayan Mukherjee would have given even 10% of the efforts of what was given into the VFX, if he gave all that into the story and the dialogues, it could have been better. It could have been a better experience altogether. And a better film.
Yes, a better film, yes. Experience, I think it was still really good.
It was a grand spectacle. It was successful in being a grand spectacle. It was not successful in being a good film.
So our rating for the film is 3 out of 5 stars, all because of the grand spectacle as we talked about, and the fact that we had a really fun time watching it in theatres.
So this was our review for the part 1 of Brahmastra. What do you think about the film, and did it live up to your expectations? Let us know in the comments below.
And don't forget to like and subscribe and support this channel.
See you next time.